Paratmanamekam Jagadbijamadyam Niriham Nirakaram Omkaravidyam Yato Jayate Palyate Yena Vishvam Tamisham Bhaje Liyate Yatra Vishvam. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hari Om Tat Sat. Dear devotees, so today we are into the fifth session of the 13th chapter of the Gita. So before we go ahead, just to recapitulate in brief what we discussed in the last four sessions. To start with, Bhagavan Krishna presents to us two things. One is the Kshetra and the other is the Kshetragya. Kshetra refers to everything that is known. In short, everything that is material. Knower of this Kshetra, he is known as Kshetragya. That is consciousness. So one is the domain of matter and the other is the domain of consciousness. Now, we need to understand that we are not this Kshetra. We are not this material dimension. So initially, Sri Krishna describes what we are not. If you remember, verse number 5 and 6 describe the whole range of Kshetra, the description of what we are not. Then, Krishna describes a set of disciplines and virtues which is indispensable if we have to understand the true nature of Kshetragya. We need to remember that this 13th chapter is essentially, it's focusing upon the true nature of Ishvara. Ishvarasya tattva nirdharanartham kshetradhyaya arabhyate. Shankaracharya says, the main intention of this 13th chapter is to ascertain, determine the true nature of Ishvara. As Ishvara Prapti or Ishvara Darshan is the goal of human life. So this is the most important thing in a sadhaka's life, in a mumukshu's life. So in order to understand what is the true nature of this Ishvara, this chapter has been started. Now, if we have to understand the true nature of Ishvara, certain disciplines are indispensable. That is what we discussed in the last class. Starting from humility, amanitvam, and ending with tattva jnanartha darshanam. Means this mumukshu's eyes and vision is completely focused upon the factor of mukti, liberation, mukti, khandana bhava bandhana in Sri Ramakrishna's language. That is the goal of this human life. So his vision is completely focused upon that mukti, and this mukti comes from tattva jnanam, tattva jnana artha. The result of tattva jnanam is mukti. And darshanam means this mumukshu's eyes are always fixed upon that mukti factor. What a wonderful quality it is. We have to have a clear-cut goal before us in our life. Otherwise, what is the meaning of human life? This human life is essentially meant for the purpose of this param purushartha, which is moksha. So that is what we discussed in the last class. Now, let us take it for granted that we all have practiced these disciplines. And when we have practiced these disciplines, we become competent, eligible now to understand what is the true nature of Kshetragya. So from verse 12 onwards, the description of what Kshetragya, the true nature of Kshetragya, is commenced. So let us just look into it. In the today's session, we shall try to finish off verses from 12 to 17. I may have to take a few minutes more today, but it is good to complete this whole from verse 12 to 17. And we need to remember one point. This is the description of Ishvara. Is this the complete truth? This is not only the description of Ishvara, this is your description. This is the right picture. Now, what we are going to study today, this is our description. So let us associate ourselves with what is being taught today. This is what we are actually. So initially we had seen what we are not. Now, today what is being going to be discussed, this is what is our true nature, which is also the true nature of Ishvara. So let us see a beautiful, magnanimous description of Ishvara, which is also our true nature. So Krishna says in verse number 12, Geyam yattat pravakshyami yadgyatva mritam anadimat param brahma nasattanna saduchyate. Geyam, that which is to be known. What is to be known? The true nature of Ishvara. What is to be known? Our true nature. Pravakshyami. Krishna says, I am going to now tell about the true nature of Ishvara, means our true nature. Yad gyatva, knowing which, amritatvam ashnute, you attain immortality. This is the phalam. This is the result. This is the outcome of this great knowledge. When we know our true self, what is our true nature, we discover that we are immortal. We are not bound by death and birth cycles. So yad gyatva amritatvam ashnute. Then, now starts the description. What is the true nature of this Ishvara or Kshetragya? Anadimat param brahma. This param brahman. How is it? Parabrahman means yourself, ourself. We are that. This Parabrahman is Anadimat. It is without beginning. That which is without beginning, it is also without end. It is limitless. It is the unchanging dimension of the human personality. It is deathless. It is immortal. Anadimat param brahma. And then what? Na sat. Tanna asat uchyate. This Brahman is neither sat nor asat. Literally, it is translated as, we cannot say that this Brahman is existing. We cannot say this Brahman is not existing. We cannot say it is a being, nor can we say it is non-being. Sat means being, something which is positively existing. Asat means that which is not existing. See, about this glass which is in front of me, I can say this glass is existing, or it may not exist. If it is not there, I will say that glass is not here. So something's presence or absence, this can be spoken about anything which is the object of our sense organs and the mind. Anything which is the object of our sensory perception, anything which is known through the indriyas, sense organs and the mind, About that we can say either it is existing or not existing. But this entity which we are talking about, as it is beyond the mind and the sense organs, it is beyond the sensory perception. It is not something to be known through our sense organs. This is the first thing we need to understand. The experience of so-called Ishvara, it is never through sense organs and the mind. This entity whom we refer to as Ishvara, it is beyond sense organs and mind. So all the Upanishads, they described in a magnanimous way. Natatra chakshur gacchati, navag gacchati, no manu. I'm just giving one example. All the Upanishads, unanimously they sing one song, that this reality cannot be known through the senses nor through the mind. It is transsensory. It is beyond the mind. So that which is transsensory and beyond the mind, about that we cannot say that it is existing, nor can we say that it is not existing. In short, it is indescribable. It cannot be described using language. It cannot be known through the sensory system. That's why Bhagavan Krishna is describing that entity as it is neither Sat nor Asat. You might all have noticed, you're all the devotees of Sri Ramakrishna, and the devotees of Sri Ramakrishna, almost every day they sing Arati in the evening. Who is this Sri Ramakrishna that we are worshipping? Have you ever thought about it? We just look at one form, one picture. But actually, what is the true nature of Sri Ramakrishna? Is he limited to that particular form which we are seeing? It cannot be. In that Arti itself, see, this Arti was composed by Swami Vivekananda. And what is the description? Namo Namo Prabhu Vakya Manatita Manavachanai Kadhar. Is it not? But we never pay attention to this description. Who is Sri Ramakrishna? He is Vakya Mana Atita. That which is beyond Vagindriya means it is beyond Indriyas, and Mana Atita. And one who is the Adhar, Mana Vachanaika Adhar, Mana Vachana Eka Adhar. He is the very substratum or the witness of the mind, witness of the Indriyas, witness of the body-mind complex. This is the true nature of Sri Ramakrishna. So what we are seeing outside the form, it is only a helping factor for us to reach the true nature of Sri Ramakrishna, which is this Parabrahman. So this is the description of the first description which we get. This Brahman is Anadimat, beginningless, and it cannot be described as existing or not existing. It is indescribable. Now, if it is indescribable, naturally, the question comes, is it something which is absolutely non-existing? This glass of water I can see through my eyes. I can see all of you. You are looking at me. We are looking at each other. We are seeing each other. Now, this thing which is being described, our true nature, which is not an object of sensory perception, which cannot be known through the mind, some may doubt. In that case, it may be absolutely non-existing. It may be just an imagination. Who knows? No. The answer to this doubt is the next verse. Now Krishna establishes the existence of this entity called Ishvara. How? Ishvara, it is this Ishvara, the pure consciousness, Brahman, which is existing in all the body-mind complexes. All the living entities which we are seeing here, this Ishvara is existing in all of them. That is the next description. So its existence can be seen in all the living beings. Though in itself it is beyond Indriyas and the Mana, but yet You can see it manifested in all the living entities. How? That is the next verse. Krishna says, Sarvata panipadam tat sarvatokshishiro mukham sarvata shrutimaloke sarvamavritya tishtati. What a beautiful description. This Ishvara, who is beyond the mind and the beyond the senses, it is existing. How is it existing? Sarvata panipadam tat. Everywhere its hands, everywhere its feet. Pani and padam. Pani means hands and padam means feet. It is everywhere, wherever we are seeing hands and feet. Now this is this description. Wherever we are seeing this hands and feet moving, who is moving it? Who is behind it? What is that entity in whose presence all this activity is going on? It is in the presence of this Ishvara that all the activities of the body and the mind is going on. So everywhere its hands, everywhere its feet, sarvata panipadam tat. Then sarvata shishiro mukham. Everywhere its eyes, aksha, and shira, head, and everywhere mukham, its mouth. Everywhere it is that entity, that Ishvara, who is manifesting through all the heads and mouths and eyes. Sarvata Shrutimaloke. Everywhere, Shruti means ears. Everywhere its ears. Sarvamavritya tishtati. It is this Ishvara who is Sarvamavritya, pervading all the living entities. It is existing. So one should not doubt about its non-existence. We can see Ishvara existing in all entities in this creation. It is that entity which is described as Anadimat Param Brahma, Nasattan Nasaduchyate. That entity, one may doubt, perhaps it is not existing. No, you can see it is existing in all the living creatures. It is that entity which is as if it is moving through hands and feet. It is that entity, it is as if it is seeing and hearing. It is that entity which is as if it is speaking. And it is that entity which is existing in all the living creatures, pervading everything. Sarvam avritya tishtati. You see? No, where are we searching for God? Upanishad says this is the most beautiful form of God. If you all remember, Swami Vivekananda does that beautiful, famous poem. Bahumukhe sammukhe tumar chadiye kothai khuji cho Ishwar. Where are we looking for God? In God limited in one form? No, Upanishad would reject that idea. Bhagavad Gita rejects that idea. God limited to a form? No, this is the most beautiful form of God, existing in everybody. It is one Ishvara who is existing in all the living beings. The whole thing is to see God with open eyes. This is the great philosophy of the Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita and Shankaracharya, who teach us to see God with open eyes. Sarvata panipadam tat, sarvato kshishiro mukham, sarvata shrutimaloke, sarvamavritya tishtati. It is existing. It is existing, not in a temple, not in one particular form, not in one place, but just before us, existing in all different forms. Now, again, there is a question. If God or Ishvara is existing, associated with all these body-mind complexes, is it bound or limited by these body-mind complexes? Can these body-mind complexes mean kshetra. In short, what was the earlier description? That kshetragya is shining in all the kshetras. That was the point. All these body-mind complexes are what? Kshetra. But Kshetragya is shining. He is reflecting in all the Kshetras. Is it not? This is what Krishna had said in the first verse itself. Kshetragyam chapi mam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata. It is I who am that asansari Ishvara who is shining, who is reflecting in all the kshetras, just like the one sun which is getting reflected in all the pots. You remember that illustration? Illustration of, say, 100 pots kept in the open with the water. And inside the water, inside the pot, the sun gets reflected. Now, if that reflected sun thinks that I am limited to this pot, it is owing to ignorance. And if that reflected sun begins to search for its source, where will it end up? It will end up in the real sun. And when it ends up in the real sun, from there it will see that it is I who am reflected in all the pots. Sarvam avritya tishtati. That Prabhu Parmeshwara is existing, pervading in all the living creatures equally. This is the description of Ishvara, not limited to one form, not limited anywhere. So one should not doubt that Ishvara can be limited or bound by the Kshetra. No, Kshetra cannot do that. But that is the meaning of the next verse, where Krishna says, Sarvendriya gunabhasam Sarvendriya vivarjitam Asaktam sarvabhritchaiva Nirgunam gunabhoktricha. Sarvendriya gunabhasam. Sarvendriya gunabhasam. This Ishvara is shining through all the body-mind complexes. Sarva Indriya Guna Abhasam. Abhasam means Abhasita. It is shining. It is shining through all the Indriyas. It is so interesting. See, we are looking at each other. You are looking at me. I am talking. You are listening. Actually, it is that Ishvara, that consciousness which is shining through all the Indriyas. We are actually seeing nothing but God. But we are not understanding this point. So Sarvendriya Gunabhasam, this entity, this consciousness is shining through all the Indriyas. It is shining through all the Indriyas means it is shining through all the body-mind complexes. We are all actually radiating God. It is happening right here itself. Sarvendriya Gunabhasam. In that case, does it mean that that consciousness is limited by this Indriyas and the body? No. Sarvendriya Vivarjitam. It is shining through all the sense organs, and at the same time, it is devoid of all sense organs. Sarvendriya Vivarjitam. It is existing in all the kshetras, and yet it is devoid of the kshetras. This is the beauty of it. Means it is absolutely untouched. Just like the sun is existing, the sun is reflecting in all the parts. But is the sun limited by any of these parts? It cannot. It is only in ignorance that reflected sun thinks that I am limited to one particular part. That is our state of ignorance. When we are ignorant, we think that I am so and so. I am a man. I am a woman. This state of ignorance, and owing to ignorance, we endlessly suffer in life. But when knowledge comes, when we inquire into the true nature of the Kshetragya, we will realize that we are not limited or bound by this body-mind complex anywhere. Though consciousness is shining through the body, that consciousness is absolutely untouched by the body and the Indriyas. Sarvendriya Vivarjitam. That consciousness, that Parameshwara, that Parabrahma is absolutely devoid of any of these limiting adjuncts, though it is shining through all the limiting adjuncts. Once again, I repeat, it is shining through all the limiting adjuncts, and at the same time, it is absolutely devoid of any of the limiting adjuncts. As it is devoid of all the limiting adjuncts, that's why it is asaktam. Next word. Sarvendriya gunabhasam sarvendriya vivarjitam. Therefore, asaktam. Asaktam means it is absolutely unattached. This is our true nature. See, this is our description which is going on. Don't think that it is the Ishvara's description. Ishvara is somewhere there and I am here. No, it is my description which is going on. It is your description which is going on. We are like this. Asaktam, absolutely unattached. This consciousness is absolutely unattached. It cannot get attached. See, we are all struggling with this problem of attachment, is it not? But actually, it is only happening in ignorance. None of us can get attached anywhere. Non-attachment is our real nature. Asango hi ayam purushaha. Upanishad says. How? Shankaracharya gives a beautiful example in one of the Upanishads. Mahamatsya Drishtanta. The Brihadaranyaka Upanishad he gives in some other places also. Mahamatsya Drishtanta means what? The illustration of a great fish. Just like a fish swimming in a big lake. Just imagine a vast lake. And there is a huge fish there. And the fish is freely swimming from one shore to the other shore, unobstructed. It is not stuck to any of these shores. Similar is the nature of the Atman. And this description is in the context of the three avasthas of Jagrat, Swapna and Sushupti. Avasthatraya. You see, every day we are experiencing Jagrat, Swapna and Sushupti. Now I am not going into the details of that. That is a different kind of presentation. That's one of the most beautiful presentation of reality, which we study in Mandukya Upanishad, one of the finest and the greatest Upanishads. So there you will find this penetrating investigation into the human experience of the waking, the dream, and the sleep. And when you literally investigate into the nature of these experiences, which all of us have, it's an universal experience. Every day we are waking, every day we are dreaming, every day we are sleeping. It is happening cyclically, endlessly, is it not? But the question is, who is experiencing this? And is that experiencer actually attached to any of these three states? Absolutely no. It is that Atman, this Kshetragya, which is our own true self. We are experiencing the waking now. This will go away. And suddenly the dream will come. Then that very Atman experiences the dream. The dream goes away. Again, that very Atman will experience deep sleep. Again, deep sleep will also go away. Again, that very Atman will experience the waking. Again, that waking also will go away. That very Atman will again experience dream. Again, that dream also will go away. And again, that very Atman will experience sleep. That sleep also will go away. In this way, this Atman is as if freely moving, unobstructed from one shore to the other. What a beautiful description. Mahamatsya Drishtanta. We are all unattached. You cannot be attached. That is the real description of our own self. So that is what Krishna is saying here. Asaktam. We are all unattached. We are shining in all the indriyas and yet we are devoid of all the indriyas. As we are devoid of all the indriyas, we are asaktam, absolutely unattached. Then, asaktam, sarvabhritchaiva. This Atman, which is being described, it is sarvabhrit. Sarvabhrit means it is one which supports everything. So this body-mind complex, who is holding it? Can it hold itself? No. It is being held by this Kshetragya, this consciousness, this Paramatma, Parameshwara, which we are. It is that consciousness which holds this so-called material body-mind complex. This body is just a Jadavastu, just like this table is. If you remember, that is what we discussed in the initial classes. This body is just a Jadavastu. Can it sustain itself? It cannot. It draws all its sustenance from this consciousness which is behind it. The Kena Upanishad, one of the beautiful Upanishads, whole discussion is that. What is that entity in the presence of which this body, mind, and the Indriyas do their respective functions. That is how the beautiful Upanishad starts. It starts with the question, Kena, by in whose presence this body-mind complex is functioning? Who is holding it? It is that pure consciousness in whose presence this body, mind, and the Indriyas are doing the respective functions. Without his presence, this body mind cannot do anything. We cannot take a single breath. It is not possible. That is the description. One single inhalation and exhalation cannot be done without the presence of that Atman. So Sarva Bhritchaiva. It is that Atman which is holding everything. It is that Atman which is holding this body mind complex. Everywhere. Everywhere in all the living creatures, it is that Atman which is holding. Sarva Bhritchaiva. And then what? That Atman, again, it is Nirgunam Gunabhoktricha. Nirgunam Gunabhoktricha. Nirgunam. This Atman which is being described, it is devoid of any attributes. No attributes can be assigned to it. It is indescribable. It is beyond all descriptions. We can describe the objects of sense organs and the mind, but Atman, which is beyond the mind and the sense organs, can never be described. And it is beyond all attributes. Nirgunam. And though being Nirgunam, it is Gunabhoktricha. It is that Atman which is the experiencer or the perceiver of all the gunas and the effects of the gunas. Gunas means here actually gunas means what? The three gunas. Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. Means Maya. Triguna means Maya. Maya is Trigunatmik. When we talk about guna, we are talking about Maya. Maya is Trigunatmik. And the effect of Maya is the whole of the Kshetra. This is what we had studied in the 5th and the 6th verse. Starting from Avyaktam. The whole thing proceeds. Avyaktam is Maya. Maya is Trigunatmik. The entire Kshetra is nothing but Maya and Maya's effect. So it is this Atman which is actually Guna Bhoktri. Guna Bhoktri means one who is perceiving the play of Maya. That is a beautiful description. So we are that. We are the witness of this wonderful play which is going on. We are not caught here. None of us is caught here. Again and again, this idea needs to be hammered inside our minds that we are not caught anywhere. There is no need for us to be sorrowing and being lamenting. None of us are caught here. This is the great conclusion of this beautiful description coming from Sri Krishna. Then, Bahirantascha bhutanam acharam charamevacha sukshmatva tadavigyeyam durastham chantike chatat. Beautiful. Krishna is saying, this Atman, which was described as Sarvendriya Gunabhasam, it was described as that which is existing, that which is shining through all the Indriyas, and yet it is devoid of all the Indriyas. And as it is devoid of all the Indriyas, it is absolutely non-attached. And this entity, Atman, which is Nirgunam, which is beyond all the gunas, and yet it is the perceiver of all the gunas, that very Atman, Bahirantascha Bhutanam. Bhutanam. Charam Acharamevacha. Chara Achara Bhuta means all the living entities, both moving and non-moving. All the living entities are categorized into two, the moving and the non-moving. Non-moving refers to the plants and trees. They are all living beings. The plants and trees are just as living as we are living. They are all living beings. They are all jivas. But they are acharam. We are all chara. Chara includes all the animal kingdom, human beings. We are all chara. So all the moving and non-moving entities. So what is Krishna saying? Bahirantascha bhutanam. This Ishvara, this Kshetragya, this pure consciousness is existing inside as well as outside of all the living entities, moving as well as non-moving. That means, is there anything existing apart from Ishvara? Bahi antascha bhutanam charam acharamevacha. It is that one Ishvara who is existing. Here Krishna is making this body as a reference point. From the standpoint of this gross body, we say something is inside. And from the standpoint of this gross body, we say something is external to the gross body. Shankaracharya says in his brilliant Bhashyam, he says, Antar and Bahi, inside and outside. Inside of what and outside of what? We have to make this body the reference point. So making this gross body the reference point, we are saying this description is such that Ishvara is inside each one of us, shining there. It is also outside. Everywhere in all the bhutas, we are seeing the same Ishvara. Charam acharamevacha. And yet, we are unable to see it. It is existing inside, it is existing outside, and yet, why is that we are not able to see it properly? Why? Sukshmatva tad avigyeyam. That becomes avigyeyam. Avigyeyam means it becomes incomprehensible. Very difficult to comprehend. Why? Sukshmatva. It is the most subtlest thing existing in this creation. Subtlest in the sense that it is beyond the sense organs. That is why, though it is existing, it is incomprehensible. It is incomprehensible to a person who has not refined his mind. That is the thing. For a person whose mind is refined, for that person, it is a reality which he sees with his open eyes. So that is the readiness or the competence which we have to build. And for that, we had seen the wonderful disciplines which we need to practice, starting from amanitvam, madambhitvam, ahimsa, kshantirarjavam, the whole set of virtues. It is when we practice it, our mind becomes refined. And for a person whose mind is refined, for that person, it becomes comprehensible. Otherwise, it is incomprehensible for an unrefined mind. The chitta has to become shuddha, pure. Antakaran has to be shuddha. That is the one indispensable need without which none can experience God. We may talk about God. We may imagine God, but God will not become a matter of experience unless our heart becomes pure and clean. So, Sukshmatva tat avigyeyam. This Ishvara is avigyeyam. It is incomprehensible. Why? Sukshmatva, extremely subtle. Durastham chantike chatat. So beautiful. Krishna is saying, God is very far and also very near. So beautiful. God is very far. For whom? For a person who is unenlightened. Unenlightened means what? For a person whose mind is not refined. For a person whose mind is not pure. The unenlightened person. For that person, God is very, very far away. Shankaracharya says he is millions of years far away. In his Bhashya, he says, for that person, God is millions of years far away. He may talk about God. That's why, see, we talk about Ishvara Prapti, but unless the basic groundwork is done, this Ishvara Prapti will not be a matter of reality. And that groundwork is what we have discussed in the last class. The practices which we have to take it seriously. Without doing that, none can make this Ishvara Prapti a fact of reality of our lives. So, durastham chantike chatat. God is very dura, very far away, millions of years away for a person who is unenlightened, for a person whose mind is not purified. And for an enlightened person, for a person whose mind is now pure, it is chantike chatat, most closest. He sees it. He sees it so clearly with his open eyes. You see? So only difference between seeing and not seeing is what? A pure mind and an impure mind. And what is the impurity of the mind? Only one. Only one. Only one. The impurity of the mind is nothing but kamana, desires. It is the desires which is actually the biggest obstacle on the path of Ishvara Darshana. As long as the mind doesn't become nishkama, we cannot have Ishvara Darshana. It's a simple fact. That's why Holy Mother says, what should we pray to Divine Mother? Nirshvasan Kurita. Make us nishkama. If Antakarana is nishkama, we will begin to see God with open eyes. It's a simple fact. It is this kamana which obstructs this vision. God vision means this is what is God vision. God alone is existing. We are not understanding this point. This is what is being described here. That's why Shankaracharya and his Vivek Chodamani says, he says, Tan manas shodhanam karyam prayatnena mumukshuna vishuddhe sati chaitasmin mukti karafalayate. What magnanimous utterance. He says, Tan manas shodhanam karyam. Therefore, what is that we have to take seriously? What is that we have to do in life? Manashodhanam. Purification of the mind. That is the one thing that we should be busying ourselves with. Not further making the mind impure. Not doing anything which will make our mind impure. The only thing that we have to do at the human plane of existence is this. The constant striving to make the mind purer and purer and purer and purer. And Vishuddhe Sati Chaitasmin, when the mind becomes completely pure, he says, Mukti Karafalayate. What a Mukti Karafalayate means? Mukti will be just like a fruit kept on your palm. Such a beautiful description. Mukti will be just like a fruit kept on your palm. Means it will be so real. Why we are not able to see God is only one factor. The Ashuddhi of the mind. And the Ashuddhi is what? All sansaric kamanas. The sansaric kamanas have to reduce in our life. The more and more our sansaric kamanas reduces, more and more this vision becomes clear. So, God is closest as well as God is very far away. Far away for the unenlightened and closest to a person who is enlightened, whose heart is pure. The description continues. Avibhaktam cha bhuteshu vibhaktamiva cha stitam bhuta bhartri cha tadgeyam grasishnu prabha vishnu cha. Now this entity which we are talking about, how is it? Avibhaktam. So beautiful. Undivided. There is no division in that. It is not limited. That's why God cannot be limited to one form. A God limited to one form is a limited idea of God. Kena Upanishad will say this. You cannot limit God to any one particular form. It is not limited anywhere. It is undivided. But it appears to be divided owing to the different limiting adjuncts. Owing to the different ubadhis, that Prabhu Parameshwara appears to be as if divided here, 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 here. It appears as if that consciousness, that Kshetragya, appears to be divided in the different bodies. That is why Krishna said in the first verse itself, second verse, he said, Kshetragyam chapi mam viddhi sarva kshetreshu bharata. I am existing undivided. Don't think that Kshetragya here is one, in there Kshetragya is something else, there Kshetragya is something else. There are not 8 billion Kshetragyas. If the human population is 8 billion, there are not 8 billion Kshetragyas. If there are 8 billion pots, there are not 8 billion suns. Sun is only one. Owing to 8 billion pots, it is appearing as if it is divided in 8 billion pots. As if it is getting reflected in 8 billion pots. Similarly, in every human being, this limiting adjunct called body where God is getting reflected. It appears as if these bodies are dividing that entity called Ishvara. But actually, that Ishvara is undivided. That sun is absolutely undivided. It cannot be divided by these limiting adjuncts of the parts. So beautiful. Avibhaktam. Avibhaktam means undivided. Avibhaktam cha bhuteshu. In all the bhutas, that Ishvara is existing absolutely undivided. Vibhaktam iva chastitam. Though it is undivided, it is existing as if it is divided. For an unenlightened person, he will be seeing as if everything is different, different, different. But for the enlightened person, the vision is so clear. He will be seeing one reality, undivided, existing everywhere, the unbroken God. Bhuta bhartri cha tadgeyam. Tadgeyam bhuta bhartri. This geyam, this geya vastu means this knowable. This God is the one thing to be known. Ishvara is geyam. Ishvara is that which we have to realize now. This Ishvara is bhuta bhartri. Bhuta bhartri means he is the one who is sustaining everybody. Bharanam. Bharanam means to sustain, to support. We are drawing our all sustenance from Ishvara only. We don't understand this point. So, this Ishvara is the one who is supporting and who is sustaining all the bhutas. Tad geyam bhuta bhartri. This Ishvara is the bhuta bhartri, means sustaining and supporting everybody. Grasishnu prabha vishnu cha. Grasishnu means what? He is a great devourer. Devourer means it is he into which everything gets dissolved. And Prabha Vishnucha, he is that from which everything originates. So he is the place into which everything gets dissolved, and he is the place from where everything originates. So Srishti, Sthiti, and Pralayam, all the three. Bhuta Bhartri means sustenance, Grasishnu means dissolution, Prabha Vishnu means origination. Means Srishti, Sthiti, and Pralaya. All the three are happening in this Prabhu Parameshwara Paramatma, Asansari Paramatma, which we are. So that is why in the Upanishad the description of Brahman is what? Brahman is described as Yato va imani bhutani jayanti yena jatani jivanti yat prayanti abhisambhishanti tad vijigyasasva tad brahmeti. That is Brahman. That is our true nature from where everything emerges, in which everything is existing, and into which everything will dissolve. That is our true nature. Every day this is happening. Every day it is from that Atman that this waking state comes out. It is in that Atman that dream state is coming out. And into that Atman everything gets dissolved in Sushupti. Again from there the waking state emerges. The Srishti, Sthiti, Pralaya is going on every day. It is happening. Where is it happening? It is happening in you. You who are the Atman, there it is happening every day. The waking, the dream, and the sleep, it's all originating from the Atman. It is existing in the Atman. Everything, every day, this whole world is getting dissolved into the Atman. This is happening, but you are existing as the Atman. Absolutely unaffected. Absolutely unbound. That is Ishvara. Grasishnu, Prabha Vishnu cha, and Bhuta Bhartri. Means this Atman is the one from where everything originates, into which everything gets dissolved, and it is that Atman which is sustaining everything. Then, such being the nature of the Atman, again the doubt may come. Because we are unenlightened, we are unable to comprehend it properly. So some may think that perhaps this may be non-existent, something dark, because anything which is full of light will be visible. But as Ishvara is not visible, we may be thinking that it is full of darkness. No, it is not darkness. The next verse Krishna says, what is it? Jyotisham apita jyotihi tamasa paramuchyate jnanam geyam jnanagamyam hridhi sarvasya vishtitam. This entity which we are talking about, it is not darkness. In fact, it is light. It is Jyotisham api tattat jyotihi. It is the light of all the lights. So in this world, what is the light that we understand? The biggest source of light is what? Sun. In the solar system, the biggest source of light is sun. And this is all we understand by light. When we talk about light, we only understand this physical light, is it not? But according to Vedanta, this is not light at all. The real light is the light of consciousness. It is only in the light of consciousness that we are seeing these material lights. Without that consciousness, none of these lights can be perceived or experienced. That sun exists, who knows it? Does the sun know that it exists? Some conscious entity alone will be able to perceive the existence of sun. And we are talking about conscious entity, we land up in this consciousness, Ishvara. And this Ishvara is itself the supreme light. Jyotisham api tat jyotihi. It is the light of all the lights. Now again, go back to Sri Ramakrishna's description. Jyotira jyotir ujala ridikandara. See the description. It's all Upanishads. We think that we are seeing one photograph and we say this is Ramakrishna. What is Ramakrishna? It is all Atman, what we are studying here. Namo Namo Prabhu Vakya Manatit. He is Vakya Manatit and Manavachanai Kadhar. And then what? Jyotira Jyotir Ujala Ridikandara. He is not outside. He is one which is beyond mind and the speech. He is the light of all lights. Atman. So we should know who is our Ishta. Atman is our Ishta. As we don't understand that Atman, we are visualizing that Atman in a certain form and worshipping it. This is the great science of worshipping Atman in a certain form. But even when we worship that form, we should understand what actually it is representing. It is nothing but our own Atman. We are always worshipping Atman alone. Atman is the only object of worship. Atman is the only object of love. We cannot love anything else. Atman is the most dearest thing for all of us. We are not understanding this point. The real object of love can be Atman and Atman alone, nothing else. So, Jyotisham api tat jyoti tamasa paramuchyate. And it is beyond tamas. Tamas means what? Darkness. And darkness means what? It is not that you turn up this light and this is darkness. The real darkness is ignorance. You can turn off this light. That is not darkness. Even when the light is on, we are in darkness actually. As long as we are ignorant about the Atman, we are in darkness. Do you think we are in light? As long as we don't know God, we are in darkness. It is only when we begin to see God, we are in light. Otherwise, we are in darkness. Even now, when the light is on, we are all in darkness, as long as we have not experienced God. So that entity is beyond darkness. Tamasa paramuchyate. Jnanam geyam jnanagamyam hridhi sarvasya vishtitam. That is jnanam, that is geyam, that is jnanagamyam. That geyam, this Ishvara, he is to be known through certain means. And that Ishvara is existing hridhi sarvasya, in everyone's heart. God is existing in everyone's heart, literally, deepest, beyond the buddhi, beyond the mind, in the depth of our being, as the witness of the body and mind and the indriyas. God is ever existing, shining there. It is in the light of that we are doing all our activities. In fact, we are continuously seeing God. We are not understanding this point. In ignorance, we are thinking that we are seeing the world. But for an enlightened person, what he is seeing, he knows it is not world, it is Ishvara and Ishvara alone. This is what Shankaracharya so beautifully summarizes in just 2 sentences. Amazing summarization. What is that? Brahman is true. World is mithya. Brahma satyam. Jagat mithya. And Jiva is what? Brahmaiva. All these bhutas, they are all nothing but Brahmaiva. And what is this Jagat? Brahmaiva. In ignorance, we are seeing Jiva and Jagat. But when enlightenment comes, you will see that it is all Brahman and Brahman alone. It is all Ishvara and Ishvara alone. Sarvata panipadam tat sarvatokshishiro. It's all one entity which is shining in everywhere. Bahumukhe sammukhe tumar chhadiye kothai kujicho Ishwar. It is God. We should train ourselves to see God with open eyes. This is the greatest sadhana. God not limited at one place, God not limited to one form, but seeing God literally. This we should be in. It's a highly vigilant mind. The real sadhana is this, to keep this awareness awake in us in all our activities. It is difficult because we have not done it, but that is what we have to try. The real sadhana is to see God with open eyes. So, Jnanam Geyam Jnanagamyam Hridi Sarvasya Vishtitam. Then comes the last concluding verse. 5 more minutes, though it is 7 o'clock. I hope you're not getting late. 5 more minutes. Then finally, this subject comes to an end here. This topic, see, what was being described was the true nature of Ishvara. True nature of Ishvara means our own true nature. This was our description which was being given here. And the last verse here says, the 18th one, Iti kshetram tatha jnanam geyam choktam samasatah madbhakta etad vigyaya madbhavayopapadyate. What does it mean? Iti kshetram, Krishna is saying, I spoke to you about kshetram. Verse number 5 and 6. I spoke to you about kshetram. Tatha jnanam. I spoke to you about jnanam. Jnanam means those virtues, those disciplines, starting from humility, amanitvam to tattva jnanartha darshanam. Those bundle of beautiful disciplines and virtues without which no one can experience the true nature of kshetragya or Ishwar. So that also I described. So I spoke about kshetram. I spoke about those disciplines which will make you competent to experience the true nature of Ishvara. And then Geyam. I also told you about what is the true nature of Kshetragya. Just now, today, what we have described. All the three things have been now described. Kshetra has been described. The true nature of Kshetragya, which is Ishvara, that has been described. And those disciplines which will make us eligible and competent to have this experience, that also has been described. All the three has been described. Now, he says, who will now succeed in experiencing it? Now, this is just a presentation. Bhagwan Krishna, so compassionately, he is teaching us, okay, my dear children, this is Kshetra and this is Kshetragya. And to experience this Kshetragya, the true nature of the Kshetragya, you have to focus upon these practices. Now, who is really eligible to have the experience? Who will succeed in having the experience of Ishvara? Bhagwan Krishna says, Mad Bhaktaha. So beautiful. So beautiful. My devotee will succeed in experiencing my true nature. And there Shankaracharya's commentary is simply marvelous. Who is this Bhakta? Shankaracharya says, Bhakta means what? Bhakta is a person whose conviction is saturated with the idea, one idea. Again, I repeat. Bhakta is a person whose conviction is saturated with one idea. And what is that one idea? That it is the Ishvara who is residing in all beings. That it is whatever I am seeing, whatever I am hearing, whatever I am touching, whatever I am experiencing, it is all nothing but Ishvara and Ishvara alone. Again, I repeat, Shankaracharya says, who is this Bhakta? Bhakta is a person whose conviction is saturated. His whole drishti is saturated with one idea. What is that idea? It is Ishvara who is residing in everybody, and whatever I am seeing and hearing and experiencing, it is all nothing but Ishvara. This conviction is that which precedes the experience of Ishvara. So the experience of Ishvara is preceded by this conviction, this tremendous nishtha. Nishtha that Ishvara alone is existing in so many forms, and whatever I am seeing, whatever I am hearing, whatever I am experiencing, it is all nothing but Ishvara. This is the Bhakta. Can you imagine what a lofty ideal of a Bhakta? This Bhakta is now competent to have this highest experience. Mad Bhakta, it says, what does Krishna says here? Mad Bhakta etad vigyaya. Etad vigyaya. For the experience of this true nature of Ishvara, this Bhakta is upapadyate. Madbhavaya upapadyate. He is now ready to experience my true state. A person who is filled with this kind of a conviction. So we should remember one point. This Ishvaranubhuti or this Ishvara darshan is preceded by one conviction, Atma Nishtha or Bhagavad Nishtha or Ishvara Nishtha. And what is the meaning of this Ishvara Nishtha? The conviction that it is God who is residing everywhere, and whatever I am seeing, whatever I am listening, whatever I am doing, everything is nothing but Ishvara and Ishvara alone. So initially it is a nishtha. It is this nishtha, this conviction, which takes the form of direct experience of God. So beautiful. So mad bhakta etad vigyaya mad bhavaya upapadyate. So it means that we all have to be true bhaktas. And bhakta means a person with such strong conviction that it is nothing but God and God alone. So let us stop here. And next comes a beautiful description, further strengthening the idea that whatever we are seeing, it is Ishvara and Ishvara alone. Ishvara's two prakriti, para prakriti and apara prakriti. This world, what we are seeing is what? Kshetra is Ishvara's apara prakriti. Kshetragya is Ishvara's para prakriti. Both the things are nothing but Ishvara. This idea will be further strengthened in the next class. Beautiful verses are coming just to further strengthen this idea that whatever we are seeing, it is nothing but Ishvara. When we begin to live with this kind of a conviction, that conviction will ultimately one day transform into the experience of Ishvara. Let's stop here. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat.